The most dangerous social manipulators never appear to be pulling strings. They operate from the shadows, turning relationships into weapons and social connections into minefields. Unlike physical confrontations that leave visible wounds, social sabotage works through whispers, omissions, and carefully engineered misunderstandings. The damage occurs so gradually that by the time you recognize the pattern, your reputation may be irreparably harmed, your relationships poisoned, and your trust in others shattered. The invisible puppeteer operates through indirect control, making others act on their behalf while maintaining perfect deniability. This technique mirrors the psychological concept of agency diffusion, where harmful actions feel less consequential when performed at someone else's suggestion. A workplace manipulator might plant ideas in a colleague's ear during casual conversation, then watch as that colleague passionately advocates for them in meetings. The genius of this approach lies in its reversibility. If the idea succeeds, the puppeteer claims credit. If it fails, they can step back untouched. Studies of organizational behavior reveal these individuals often rise to middle management, powerful enough to influence outcomes, but sufficiently removed to avoid accountability. Their true skill isn't in direct persuasion, but in understanding group dynamics well enough to nudge people toward desired actions while letting them believe the decisions were their own. Reputation assassination occurs not through overt slander, but through the strategic use of plausible deniability and concern trolling. The modern reputation killer doesn't declare John is incompetent. They say, "I worry about John sometimes. He seems so overwhelmed lately," with just enough sincerity to avoid detection. This approach exploits what psychologists call the illusory truth effect, where repeated exposure to a suggestion increases its perceived validity, regardless of evidence. The real damage occurs through pattern building, a series of small, seemingly innocent comments that collectively form a damaging narrative. Research shows it takes approximately 5 positive interactions to overcome the impact of one negative impression, giving the saboteur a mathematical advantage. The most skilled practitioners alternate between subtle criticism and warm support, creating confusion that makes their occasional barbs seem like well-intentioned honesty rather than calculated attacks. The silent treatment, when weaponized, becomes a form of psychological starvation. Humans are social creatures. Our brains literally interpret social rejection as physical pain through identical neural pathways. Functional MRI scans show that experiencing the silent treatment activates the anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that processes physical injury. Manipulators exploit this biological vulnerability by alternating between affection and withdrawal, creating what psychologists term intermittent reinforcement. The victim's desperate attempts to restore connection actually reinforce the manipulator's control, much like a lab animal compulsively pressing a lever for unpredictable rewards. What makes this tactic particularly cruel is its self-perpetuating nature. The longer it continues, the more the victim's anxious behaviors can be framed as justification for further rejection. In workplace settings, this often manifests as ghosting, deliberately excluding someone from communications or meetings while maintaining polite, superficial interactions when forced. The fake confidant plays a dangerous double game, presenting themselves as a trusted repository for secrets while revealing nothing genuine in return. This asymmetrical vulnerability creates what intelligence agencies call an information imbalance. The manipulator accumulates compromising material while remaining opaque themselves. Psychological research demonstrates that sharing personal information triggers oxytocin release, creating bonding feelings that the fake confidant expertly mimics without reciprocating. They master the art of vague booking, sharing just enough superficial personal detail to appear open while revealing nothing substantive. Over time, this one-way transparency gives them increasing power as they accumulate sensitive information that can be deployed strategically. The most sophisticated operators will occasionally sacrifice minor secrets to maintain the illusion of reciprocity, much like a card shark intentionally losing small hands to build confidence before taking everything. The controlled rumor mill operates through what sociologists call plausible deniability chains. Instead of spreading damaging information directly, the manipulator plants seeds with carefully chosen intermediaries who believe they're sharing original observations. Have you noticed how Sarah always leaves early on Fridays? Becomes, people are saying Sarah isn't committed to her job after passing through 2 or 3 mouths. This technique exploits 2 psychological phenomena: the telephone effect, where messages mutate with repetition, and source amnesia, where we remember information but forget its origin. By the time the rumor reaches its target, it appears to have emerged organically from multiple sources, making the original manipulator untraceable. Organizational studies show this tactic thrives in environments with poor communication channels, where information gaps allow rumors to flourish unchecked. These social sabotage techniques share a common thread. They all exploit the gap between appearance and reality in human relationships. Where direct confrontation would trigger resistance, these methods bypass our defenses by operating through third parties, exploiting social norms, and weaponizing the very trust that holds groups together. The puppeteer uses others as proxies. The reputation assassin hides behind concern. The silent tormentor exploits our need for connection. The fake confidant perverts vulnerability, and the rumor mill operator disappears into the crowd. The cumulative effect creates what psychologists call social uncertainty, a chronic state of anxiety about one's place in the group that impairs judgment and decision-making. Victims often respond with increasingly desperate attempts to regain footing, which the manipulator can then frame as proof of instability. This creates a self-reinforcing cycle where the victim's attempts to defend themselves actually feed the narrative being used against them. Protection begins with recognizing these patterns not as isolated incidents, but as interconnected strategies in a larger psychological arsenal. The invisible puppeteer relies on others' willingness to be led. The reputation assassin depends on our tendency to believe repeated suggestions. The silent treatment works because we're wired to seek connection. The fake confidant exploits our natural reciprocity instincts, and the rumor mill thrives on our cognitive laziness in tracking information sources. Understanding these mechanisms provides more than just defense. It offers a way to reclaim agency in social spaces. By identifying the underlying patterns, we can begin to see through the illusions, separate the manipulators from the genuinely well-intentioned, and most importantly, protect ourselves from tactics designed to operate below conscious awareness. In a world where social capital increasingly determines opportunity, these insights become essential tools for maintaining both psychological well-being and professional integrity. The most effective social sabotage leaves no fingerprints, only a trail of damaged relationships and self-doubt. But with careful observation and a willingness to trust consistent actions over shifting words, the invisible strings begin to reveal themselves, and once seen, they can be cut.